Hi everyone, welcome to the Learning Annex. My name is Anjhula Singh Bais, and today I'm going to be speaking about the business of beautiful people, creating value. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity. When I was met with this opportunity, I realized that I wish when I had started in the industry, I had the opportunity to sort of hear the tips or have a dialogue or discussion with what we're going to have presently. And a little bit about my background. I didn't discover modeling. Modeling discovered me, but it's been really meant to be. It's been an eventful journey, and I realized, after hitting milestone after milestone, some with a lot of hard work and sweat, but some unexpectedly, that my passion, my pleasure, and my duty is to sort of share whatever wisdom I've kind of gleaned in my career so far with others just beginning. So having said that, one of the most prominent questions I'm asked, like whether it's backstage at a runway show in Fashion Week, be it London, New York, India, or in a shoot, or just with friends, or especially with interviews, what is beauty? And that's the million-dollar question. And of course, I think everyone's going to define beauty individually. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I would like to challenge the notion of beauty as maybe defined predominantly by the West. We live in a very sort of consumer-driven market. Girls entering, or even, especially not only girls, but women entering the field of modeling or entertainment, or even just not having any interest in the field, but picking up glossies. We are indulged anywhere we go. Billboards, hoardings, television commercial, print ads. Beautiful, beautiful women, and that just gives us an idea of what we define as beauty, and I think it can be on a very superficial level. So at one point when I was asked in an interview, I thought very seriously about what beauty means to me, and I said it was, beauty to me is truly something that's inside out. You can see the character and compassion in one's eyes, and it's very important to have both, a sort of deeper sense of beauty and also, I suppose, topical, but that's defined in different ways culturally and in different countries. So we want to understand that what's beautiful in one country may not necessarily be in another. And the world is becoming a smaller place and global, so it's worth keeping in mind. And someone I admired very much, Khalil Gibran, he's a mystic poet who lived in the 1800s. He said, it's not an image you would see or the song you would hear, but rather an image you would see when you shut your eyes, and a song you'd hear when you shut your ears. So that's a quote on my website. And want more about beauty. I think girls starting in the modeling industry think it means a certain height, a certain weight, a certain skin color, a certain eye color, a certain hair color. And for maybe certain campaigns and such things, that could be true. But at the end of the day, I think it has a lot more to do than just superficially. It's the whole package. What's your character like? Do you have an X factor? I asked a lot. I get a lot of emails, and on my website, people contact me anonymously, and they ask for tips. And one of the first things I ask when I reply back is, what is your USP? And many people are like, what's USP? And that's your unique selling point. What makes you unique from the plethora of beautiful faces that are out there? Intelligence is very beautiful. When you go to castings, you need to have oomph. You need to ooze out essence. It's more than being a pretty face. That's it. If I were to start out with something that I'm going to say from the beginning, modeling and the whole entertainment fashion industry is much more than a beautiful face or a smoking hot body. You have to have that sort of X factor that, you want to be a brand nowadays. It's the whole thing. I think too many girls concentrate on being one-dimensional. You need to be three-dimensional, and that's how you're going to differentiate yourself. And one thing I find amusing is, it doesn't cease to amuse me ever, is that the stereotypes that surround the industry. So the biggest one that comes to mind that's very salient is models are not the brightest crayon in the box. So I myself am currently pursuing a PhD in psychology. And I have met very intelligent models. I have met models that are reading Tolstoy backstage. I've met models that are, biochemists, that are architects, that are world stage ballerinas. But it's really funny that if you're a model, that's sort of inversely proportionate to your IQ. But having said that, I always like to talk about the exceptions to the rule or challenge that. And people like Tyra Banks, Heidi Klum, Giselle, they are very, very far from being sort of not the brightest crown in the box. Let's speak about Tyra. And for girls entering the industry, I would really research these people, because I really feel like anything that you could be experiencing or that you have questions on have been experienced in the world before you. History spans a very large quantity of time. So, for example, Tyra, she's an amazing person. She was the first African-American woman to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated. She was the first African-American woman to grace the cover of GQ, and the first person to actually grace those covers simultaneously. And she's much more than a model. Like, one advice I'd give to aspiring models is, please don't define yourself as a model. When people ask, what are you? I'm like, modeling is something I do, it's not who I am. Tyra is a producer, she's a director, she's a singer, she's an actress. I mean, I remember growing up and watching her do spots on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And we all recently know her for her amazing role as executive producer and director of America's Next Top Model. And at the end of the day, modeling is like any other career. I mean, in fact, it's obviously more challenging and more cutthroat, but you have, the same amount of competition. You have to differentiate yourself. You have to be intelligent. And these women, without a doubt, Heidi, Giselle, and Tyra prove that. Heidi Klum, she's a great example of someone who has a never say never attitude. She was always pegged as someone who would only survive as a commercial model, yet she made it in the world of high fashion. She was, Victoria's Secret's angel for a very, very long time. She's come up with, I believe, the first superhero, supermodel video game, where they try to thwart an attack on Bryant Park, where New York Fashion Week is held. We all know her now properly as the executive producer and director of Project Runway. She has a fragrance. She's very multifaceted, and that obviously takes brains. Giselle is a very recent great example of a supermodel. Forbes has actually estimated that every step that Giselle walks on the runway is worth about $3,000. But money aside, she's a very, very amazing person. And I'll talk about this a little later in my presentation. She, with the recent occurrence of the tsunami in Japan, she's written a very sizable check and donated straight from her heart. She's used her influence and popularity to create value. So she's truly beautiful inside out. All of these women are, and it's worth keeping in mind that it's just not only about the next big campaign that you might land. So I feel, people often ask me, how have you started in the industry? And it's been my experience being in the industry for more than a decade. There's a difference between discovery and approach, and I just thought that warranted shedding some light a little bit. So discovery is when you maybe have no interest in modeling, you've never thought about it, you never thought you could. I mean, at this moment, I find it very interesting to tell maybe the teenage girls that are watching right now that I was completely the ugly duckling in school. So I find it very amusing to be sitting here and almost, giving tips and advice. But yeah, I mean, I was a girl who was wondering, where is my prom date going to come from? And I never thought I could model. And when I was 18, I was walking around near the cinema and someone stopped me and asked me, have you ever done a screen test? And I was like, what is a screen test? I had no idea. And I went along with him. Now, in retrospect, not a safe thing to do, because there's a lot of fraudulent activity going on. So please keep a note, don't do that. Check out people's credentials, so on and so forth. The world is a very different place from when I started. Having said that, that's one route, being discovered. Oftentimes, modeling agencies send their scouts into a rock concert, a mall, a restaurant, maybe on the subway, to find the next big thing. And it does happen. I mean, it's happened to Claudia Schiffer, Heidi Klum. They were discovered in a discotheque, in a mall, Naomi Campbell, so on and so forth. And then the other approach is, approach. So you you read the glossies, you watch television, and you think you have what it takes. And I'm kind of here to help you figure out if you have what it takes. And either approach is fine. I don't suppose one approach is more correlated to success than another. But all I would caution is, in my experience, I feel like the people who have been discovered have a more easygoing approach. It's like it's not something I was dying to do, so I'm cutthroat and neck to neck, and that's it. It's my bread and butter. I find the girls that have been discovered sort of go along with the flow. They're more chilled out, and it seems to have benefited their career more. Whereas I have been, on the sets of shooting commercials and TV and film work, and I've seen people, showbiz moms. We see this, the television's full of reality shows. Whether it's a mother pushing her daughter into a pageant if she's 8 years old or whatever, or going to an agency casting, maybe forcing the daughter or its son, in this case, whatever, to wear things that are uncomfortable or they're not quite sure. And I would really, really caution against that. I mean, even if your mother or maybe even father have stars in their eyes, or maybe living vicariously through you as parents can do, please do whatever you're comfortable with. Because till date, there's certain genres that I'm not comfortable shooting with. I'll go to an audition, but it's really not me, and it comes across on the camera. And I'm a decade old in the industry. So just be careful and remember that, even if you're approaching it with, I am the next supermodel, remember there's plenty of work to go around for everyone. So be friendly. So another thing I wanted to talk about was standard requisites versus exceptions to the rule. So if you're brand new and you're sort of green to the industry, I want to advise that, we see knockout gorgeous girls or guys on television, on commercials, billboards. They are beautiful. Please don't underestimate how much photoshopping or editing goes into that. So keep it realistic. Please understand that. That's very, very important. That's one takeaway I want you to have. That would certainly be, remember, Photoshop edited. You have no idea how much. Google it. It'll be very interesting what articles you find. But generally speaking, if you want to do runway, it depends on which parts of the world, but I say you want to be about 5'10" or over. If you are starting out, they really like to pick them young. So 15, 16, young, fresh. That's the age that people like the big agencies want to develop their girls, because they're looking at a 10, 15, 20 year sort of relationship. And your look, again, it depends on what part of the world. I know personally speaking, as an Indian, I've faced my challenges as an Indian model in New York. But having said that, New York being one of the fashion capitals of the world, it's been extremely rewarding, the work and the prestigious campaigns I've done. I mean, as Frank Sinatra says, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And it fluctuates. You're in one season, you may be in not another season, your look. I wouldn't take it personally. It depends what the particular client's looking for. Maybe they want a quote, what might be exotic Indian look. Generally speaking, it might be a sort of Nordic, Eastern European look. It depends. Size for standard quote modeling, it's probably between a 0 to 4. But having said that, what I think is very, very important is understanding exceptions. There's an exception to every rule. And who out of all of us don't want to be an exception to something, right? So Kate Moss, she's considered one of the most successful models in the world, the highest paid ranking. She's 5'7", yet she walks every runway. There's a model that is 82 and going strong. There's a market for everything. She's doing commercials for Oil of Olay. She's probably the most attractive 80-year-old that's out there, and all the advertising agencies, want to sort of capitalize on that. Androgynous looks are popular. You never know. I have a lot of African American colleagues that refuse to, for example, cut their dreadlocks, and that makes them. That makes their USP, their unique selling point. That's their niche. So you don't know what look someone's going for. My best advice is be yourself and believe. And Lizzie Miller is one of my favorites. She caused quite a controversy with Glamour magazine when they didn't Photoshop or edit the sort of pudge on her stomach. And she's a plus size model, And she's like, I love myself for who I am, and that was that, and she's doing very well. So really quickly, some investments you want to have as a model. Please don't rely on Photoshop and modern wonders of technology, like Adobe, so on and so forth, to be like, you know what, they will just size me down, liquidate that, and it's fine. That's not the point. Because way before you get to the stage of, having a final shot that's being Photoshopped, you have to go to a casting or even, trying to get signed with the agency as you are. And, I have a letter printed out from, a young girl of 15 who emailed me asking for advice. And the fact of the matter is you need to be in shape. So invest in a trainer. If you can't find the discipline in yourself, find a trainer, work out. Diet is equally important. There's a big difference between being skinny and being fit and being healthy. So if I ask any of my model colleagues, most of them can't run a lap around a tennis court. That's not healthy. Don't take shortcuts. I don't believe in that. That's going to be very detrimental in the long run. Eat well. Dermatologists, you want to have flawless skin, because remember, photoshopping is time is money. If Vogue can take a cover with a girl that's flawless skin and then takes an hour of Photoshop versus 5 hours, who do you think they're going to take? And a portfolio. I have girls thinking they're very cute, they look like the neighbor next door, their neighbor has taken photos and they're like, it's wonderful, I'm pretty. No, get professional shots. A 3/4 shot, full length, close up, variety, it's going to serve you well. It's very much worth your investment. Another thing that's worth your investment is knowledge is power. I've spoken to many candidates in, wanting to make it big in the industry. I'm like, please name me 3 of the top male models or top female models in the world right now. Or who do you idolize? Who are your favorite designers? Who is a photographer you'd be dying to work with? And it really astonishes me that they can't name one. If you love your industry and you have a passion, you know it inside out. Don't expect it to be like, I'm a pretty face, it's going to follow me. Understand the inner workings. Please also understand that everyone's not a Giselle, right? She makes millions, she's uber successful, she's also a very nice person. But in addition to having skills, you also have to have fortune and luck favor you, be in the right time in the right place. Not everyone can do that, and that makes sense. Please have an alternative skill set. I have so many 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds talking to me saying, I want to drop out of school, I want to, drop out of college, and my humble, may not work for everyone, but I would say for the majority, please, definitely, without doubt, finish your high school degree, get a undergraduate degree. Even if it means you're doing really, really well, get it online from somewhere accredited. It will serve you well. And next is knowledge of yourself. That goes without saying, whether you're modeling or doing anything in life. You really need to understand, why are you doing it? What are your goals? Where you want to be? What's your temperament? How are you as a person? It's going to serve you well, again, in terms of your own fulfillment and interacting with others. And make no mistake, you interact with so many people in the media industry. Really quickly, choosing a mentor. A solid mentor is a new black. In other words, it's very fashionable. What's the point of having a mentor? Well, if there's a gap in your knowledge and you don't know what your next steps are, they are invaluable. Make sure to choose a mentor that has a time for you, that wants to take you under their wing, that will help you professionally, give you tips that you couldn't have thought of yourself, that have been a success in where you want to be a success, that has complete inside industry knowledge, that will also help you with your personal development, that will tell you it as it is. For me personally, it's been Foreman. I want to pass on her baton. She is an amazing person. She's credited as, she is the founder of New York Fashion Week. And I remember when I first met her, first thing she said to me was, how can I be of help to you? And that was deeply humbling. And I hope by doing this instructional video, I'm passing on the baton. She's an amazing person and she's guided me very well. And so has Anna Winter for countless numbers of models. So again, qualities you want to possess. I can't speak enough about these, but I'll try to be as concise as possible. Professionalism. It's not only about being pretty. I'm a pretty face, so I'm entitled. No, you need to be a professional. Make no mistake at how hard modeling is. You're talking about 12, 13, 14-hour long shoots under harsh lights. You don't have a drop of water. I've shot in the mountaintops where the wind factor was so high that I've actually fainted and my glucose was so low, it's so cold. Doesn't matter. I want to get the shot no matter how long it takes. I'm not going to be a diva. I'm not going to throw a tantrum. I love it for the art it is, and I'm a thorough professional. Timeliness. Linda Evangelista, supermodel, was famous for saying, I don't wake up, I'm not going to get out of bed for 10,000 or less. Very fine if you reach that, but even then, the reason why Giselle, Heidi, Tyra, everyone is who they are is because they're on time. Please respect yourself and other people's time. It speaks volumes of your character. Have a thick skin. You have no idea. You know, I've always joked with friends, you have to have such a tough skin, like a rhino, if you're going to do modeling. Like a rhinoceros, rather. You know, for example, if you're doing accounting and you're very good at what you do, well, let's say you've had a late night, or you're tired, or, you know, doesn't matter, right? It's right here that you need to be like making mathematical calculations. As a model, you're being judged largely, not fully. I mean, a lot of people attitude spunk, but largely on how you look. You must be able to take rejection. And remember, it's a numbers game. It's not personal. You might go to a casting, your life's works in a portfolio, people flip through pages, they're like, thanks very much, or they don't even look at you. It's part and parcel. Patience. Please Google, read people's autobiographies, read interviews, read the glossies, look at the poses, look at people's life stories. It hasn't come overnight. People have worked very hard to be where they are, so please don't expect a stroke of magic. Really quickly, I want to say, on a throwback to the young girls emailing me and asking me, should I quit school? Please don't. I want you to look at people who are uber successful, that we look up to. Natalie Portman, Black Swan, amazing. She did her undergraduate at Harvard in psychology. And I've said, look at the roles that she's essaying. James Franco, he's pretty hot. And, you know, from hosting Saturday Night Live to writing poetry to directing a photography shoot at Vogue to taking classes at Columbia. I've seen him on campus. He's an amazing guy. And of course, he's an actor. That's how we know him. Multi-talented, but he and Natalie, and of course Emma, place a premium on education. Emma Watson, we know her as the girl that's one of the stars of the most successful franchise in the world till date, Harry Potter. I was so touched reading her July article in Vogue, where she was like, I am the thorn in Warner Brothers' ass. Take note, all you aspiring models and actors. She's like, I will not do the last 2 Harry Potter videos if you can't find a way for me to go to college. She started with the Harry Potter franchise when she was 9, and she's now 21, and Warner Brothers took her sort of threat, if you will, seriously. She found a way to enroll in Brown. And make no mistake, the security and the confidence and the elegance and the intelligence that these actors exude in their interviews, it sets them apart. Really quickly, it's just not about being beautiful. Fine, you're getting a big paycheck, you're on billboards in Times Square, that's nice, but how are you creating value? What are you doing to give back? One of my favorites is Coco Rocha. She's about 23, 22. She's doing amazing things for Haiti. Charity, philanthropy, make no mistake, you can use your name for unprecedented clout. And I would really strongly suggest doing that. And also pass the baton forward. When you get to a certain stage, please take someone under your wing like you were most likely taken under. Naomi Campbell, I'll never forget her humility and kindness. She was so kind to me backstage, and those things stand out in my mind. You know, you feel like you're not alone and someone's been there before you. A little bit about me, breaking boundaries. I was India's first Miss Teen India. I'm one of the only Indian models to walk New York Fashion Week. It's been a bit of a struggle, but it makes me immensely proud, and I'm very happy to share that with all of you. And like I said again, philanthropy and public service. Just recently, I've been appointed ambassador for Concern. It's an amazing charity that tackles poverty and global hunger, and I'm really looking forward to using the name I've created to help others less fortunate. You can Google my name if you have time and check out me speaking out on Asian human rights issues and philanthropy, and get creative. There's so many things you can do once you sort of make it big, or making a name and being famous. I remember in India, women are not really encouraged to work, but I donned on the uniform of a gas station attendant, and I really rallied for women being able to get a job at a gas station and being able to pump gas. And this photo came out in the newspaper, and I was able to do that. please concentrate on academics. I currently hold a master's in psychoanalysis, and I think caring is very fashionable. I volunteer at homeless shelters. I'm currently working on my PhD in international psychology at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. And you can be very creative. I mean, we're not in the generation where our parents are like, you do one thing. So I'm really looking forward to combining my psychology degree with hosting my own talk show. Are you listening, Dr. Phil? Move over. And my father, he said something to me once which became a really famous quote. He's like, great that you are blessed to have a face to be on the cover of Femina or Vogue, but you have the brain, so be the editor. So just a note to the aspiring actors and models, be it male or female, remember to be multi-dimensional. There's so many talents. Tap into it. Do you like writing? Do you like singing? Do you feel passionate about a cause, whether it's, for animal rights, anything? Tap that in addition to what you're doing. And it's great. I was on the cover of Femina, which is the most widely read Asian magazine, September issue, which is a big issue, and then this photo became iconic. It was me reading for my psychology homework assignment backstage in New York Fashion Week. And just quickly remember, everybody likes to take shots with themselves on the iPhone, and obviously your mom and dad think you have what it takes to be a star. That's what parents say, and your friends and your neighbors. But keep a healthy dose of realism. What you might think, is that what you see in the mirror? Do your research before you spend a lot of your effort and your time and money. And ask people, ask a multifaceted set of people, do you think I have what it takes? And most likely you're surrounding yourself with people that'll be honest, and that will lead you well. And please remember, in order to be replaceable, one must always be different. That's by Coco Chanel. Thank you so much for your time, and please get in touch if you have any questions. All the best for your journey.